Welcome to King's Corner. I'm your host, Christian King, and we're in warm and sunny Felton, Delaware. I love saying that every single time I get to. But today we're going to start out with this. I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Jaguars have announced two major moves in the past 24 hours. The first one they announced about, I'm going to say 18 hours ago. They said Nick Foles will probably be traded. They're going to go on with Gardner Minshew as their starter. Am I shocked? No, I've been saying that ever since he signed there last year. And then, just 20 minutes ago, Jaguars officially traded A.J. Bouye to Denver. They don't know for what yet, but that's great news for Philadelphia Eagles for one reason. The Broncos were the favorites to land Byron Jones from Dallas. Now, it's more than likely Philly, because Philly needs a corner, and they're going to be very aggressive. So I'm going to make a very early prediction. I'm going to make it right now. Byron Jones will sign with the Philadelphia Eagles by March 19th at the earliest. If anything, Philadelphia, if you don't sign him, you're making a huge mistake. Philly, you need a corner. Do yourselves a favor. Get your defense right. But let me segue from the NFL, because that's the only thing that happened in the last 24 hours or 48 hours. And let's talk about what I saw last night. So I watched that Knicks-Rockets game from start to finish. And I remember when the Rockets got down by 19 and the Knicks almost blew the lead. But if that didn't show you guys clarity, I don't know what will. The Rockets aren't a championship team. They're not meant to do what they're supposed to do. The only way I'd say the Rockets could be championship potential would be if they had Ben Simmons. And they don't. And I know some of you are thinking, Ben Simmons, that man can't shoot. If you put Ben Simmons where Russell Westbrook is right now, Ben Simmons would average probably 30 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds. He would be their big man, point guard, everything for them. And I know some of you are thinking, James Harden runs that offense. Really? If you haven't watched the last week and a half of Rockets basketball, the Rockets are starting to segue away from James Harden for one reason. They know Harden doesn't show up in the clutch. And I know that's very controversial to say, but Harden doesn't show up when you need him the most. Harden cripples like a little baby. You put pressure in front of his face, and he starts to whine because he doesn't understand the matrix of basketball. When you're going into a paint and the playoffs, he thinks it should be the same way as the regular season. James Harden is no MVP caliber player. He's not a Hall of Fame all-time great player. He's a Hall of Famer, but so is Penny Hardaway. He's still not in yet. People ask me, would I say James Harden was the greatest scorers of all time? I said no. Greatest free throw shooter of all time? Arguably. But that's about it. Harden, I know you want to say you're a point guard, but you don't play defense. You don't pass the ball well in the playoffs. You don't shoot the ball well in the playoffs. I don't know if you can tell, but I don't rate people off regular season. Regular season doesn't mean anything. In the NBA, it's playoffs or bust. The NFL, it's different. In the NFL, all 16 games and hopefully soon 17 games are literally playoff games every single week you play. Because if you lose, that could have intermental damage down the road. For example, the Eagles against the Falcons week 2, Nelson Agholor dropped that pass. If they went 10-6 or 11-5, they would have been the 3rd seed. I mean, they would have had the 4th seed, but also they would have had a lower pick. They could have had better pieces to go in. Also, they wouldn't have had to play week 17, which means Brandon Brooks wouldn't have gotten injured. They would have had a healthier team. If anything, because Nelson Agholor dropped that pass, that cost the Eagles multiple games. The Lions cost them that game. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Nelson Agholor didn't show up. Cost them another game. Then Dallas, and even though that was a butt kicking, everybody knew that was going to be a blowout after Nelson Agholor made no effort. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of Nelson Agholor. Nelson Agholor doesn't deserve to be in the NFL. If anything, I don't even think Nelson Agholor is a good enough talent to be in the XFL. All he can do is get separation. But if you put Nelson Agholor with the ball in his hands in the clutch, he won't show up. And then I'm going to have some people say, what about that other catch in Atlanta? He made the easier of the 2 catches. And I know you're going to say, but the one right here is much easier than a one over the shoulder. Actually, the placement of those balls were the exact same, except on the 4th and 14, Wentz put it right here where he couldn't drop it. If he dropped that one, he probably would have been traded that Monday. Nelson Agholor isn't an NFL caliber wide receiver. It's actually a shame that the Eagles have to say, 50 years from now, we drafted Nelson Agholor in the 1st round. Philly, why? But let's keep on with the Rockets. The Rockets won't do anything in the playoffs. They'll probably be swept in the first round. They can't do anything that we think they can do. I've heard people say, "Oh, they're championship caliber with small ball." Okay, how many NBA teams have ever won a championship without a center playing? And before I hear the 15-16 Warriors, they had Andrew Bogut. 95-96 Bulls. Rodman was a center, technically. He was 6'10", played power forward. He was a center. The biggest guy the Rockets are playing on their front is a 6'7" James Harden. Last night against the Knicks, he couldn't even slow down Bobby Portis. They had problems slowing down a rookie named R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett's not a scorer, he's a passer. They let him score 25. I could see if it was Zion that did this to him, or a Ja Morant. But the one thing they better hope doesn't happen is New Orleans gets on a hot streak and they end up getting the 7th or 6th seed. Because that could mean that the Rockets and the Pelicans play first round. And I hate to tell Houston fans, if it's New Orleans versus Houston first round, Houston's getting swept. Because there's nobody in Houston that's willing to take a shoulder blow from Zion Williamson. There's only been one man in the entire NBA so far to be able to withstand a shoulder bump from Zion. And that was Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he's 7 feet 260. I mean, that makes sense. But Zion's pushing around Dwight Howard like he's a baby. JaVale McGee like he's a baby. He's pushing around Rudy Gobert like he's a baby. He's pushing around all these bigs like they're little kids. But these guys are 7-foot monsters that are getting bullied. It's not fair. This is why I say Zion's the future. But also, Houston has no chance because Lonzo and Drew Holiday are probably the best defensive backcourt in the NBA. To me, it's not even close. Plus, Lonzo makes passes that just make me flabbergasted. They're mind-boggling. But I'm going to segue away from the Rockets and Pelicans and talk about what I heard today from LeVar Ball. LeVar, it's time for you to wake up. Maybe LaMelo and Lonzo can play on a team together in the NBA. That's still a possibility because LaMelo and Lonzo are actually NBA caliber players. LiAngelo isn't an NBA caliber player. He wasn't even good enough in your JBA. He wasn't impressive, and I know the one game he had 73. But that was only because he took 45 shots and only made 20 of them. That's not even 50%. When you're taking 45 shots, I expect you to at least make 50%. That's sad. LiAngelo will never make the NBA. He might never even make the G League. He's not good enough. So, LeVar, the only way that all three of your boys will ever play is if you get a head coaching job. And to be truthful with you, you have no shot. I love the Root for the Ball brothers just because they have to deal with you. But I feel bad for them at the same time. Because even though you get them great names onto their back and everybody hypes them up and they might either hate them or love them, you put too much pressure on them. And I know this morning and this afternoon you said, I haven't put any pressure on Lonzo Ball. Really? Let's look at the statistics. Lonzo Ball is playing the same number of minutes technically as he was in LA. And he's putting up better numbers, better assists, more rebounds, a better plus minus, a better player efficiency rating, better defensive rating. Lonzo does things better in New Orleans for one reason only. He's away from LeVar Ball, the distraction. He stopped wearing the Triple B brand shoes. He got away from it. And I know he said he regretted covering up his tattoo, but actually that might have been the greatest thing Lonzo Ball has done outside of the season. He showed he grew up. He showed everybody that he grew up here. He showed everyone Lonzo Ball is now a man. And as you can see, he's getting bucked up. He got tattoos like you didn't want him to, but he did. And I love his tattoos because it showed he's getting away from you. And then this season, Lonzo's dominating. He almost had a triple-double against the Lakers. He was able to actually slow down LeBron on a couple drives. It was actually really impressive. And I don't know whether that was Lonzo just playing Lonzo, or Lonzo going at LeBron saying, you shouldn't have traded me, homeboy. I'm going to make you pay for that. But another thing I heard LeVar said that actually won't shock me is Lonzo might end up coming back to LA one day. And I wouldn't be shocked, but I think it would have to be under one condition. LeVar's not there. If LeVar moves from LA and he goes to New York or something, Lonzo will be your first guest right back to LA because he loves the city of LA. That's where his child was born. He wants to stay in LA. Lonzo loves California, Southern California. He loves the Lakers. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up signing with the Clippers, because I believe when Kawhi's contract is over in about 3 years, he's going to say, I'll come back on one condition. I need another point guard who was just like Patrick Beverley, who would probably at that time be old or retired. Lonzo will probably end up filling that void, because Lonzo's just the bigger, taller Patrick Beverley, but can actually play offense and the fast break. Could you imagine a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Lonzo Ball fast break in Los Angeles? Oh, I would love to see that. But we'll probably never see it. And the last thing I'm going to cover today is Wilder, Fury going to have a rematch. I never did cover the original fight. I mean, the second fight that I said Wilder was going to win. I was wrong. Fury dominated him. Wilder, listen to me. Fury is going to mollywop you again unless you get a better trainer that teaches you how to box. You have no punching chance in this fight. I thought you did last time, and that's why I thought you'd win. But no. Fury has the punching chance and the boxing chance. If I were you, I'd actually call up Floyd Mayweather and ask him, can you train me, please, sir? Ask the all-time great to please train you, because maybe your footwork will get better. Now it's going to take a little more than 5 or 4 months to get ready for that fight, but maybe you can. Thank you for watching this episode of King's Corner. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and see you tomorrow.